Today, we are joined by Danny Johnson, co-founder of Hxro Games. They are the company that's reimagining crypto trading as we know it. He also founded Pinkcoin, and he was a professional poker player for almost 11 years. So there's a ton that we want to cover. Danny, how are you doing today?
Phenomenal. Thanks for having me on the show, Mike.
Of course. Thanks for joining us. Can you just tell us a little bit about like your elevator pitch for Hxro and what those games are like?
Yeah, so we actually only have one game right now. We have one that's planned on our roadmap for later this year called My Bags, but our first game is Moonrect. Essentially, the platform is a peer versus peer trading game, which allows people to play short time frame price action on price of Bitcoin and other crypto assets when we add them in the future. So first game time frame is 5 minutes. We're going to add 15 and 60 in a day and other ones, but for the private beta, just for the purposes of testing and providing like one liquidity pool, it's 5 minutes. And so you're deciding before the contest starts whether the price of Bitcoin is going to be up or down, so moon or rec. Like prior to the contest starting, you don't see any information except for the pool size, and you make a decision. Do you want to go moon or rect? And then when the contest starts, all that information of which side people are on and how much Hxro is on each side becomes revealed to you. So you get to see how many entries or how much an entry is on the moon side, how much is on rect, and there's an associated payout multiplier with that because of the nature of the contest. It's a pari-mutuel payout. So if there's 20,000 Hxro in a pool and there's 5,000 on rect and 15,000 on moon, that and rect happens to win, the whole rect side wins the entire prize pool of 20,000. So if you're 10% of that rect side, you put 500 of the 5,000 in there, you have the opportunity to make a 4x payout. So you're going to win 2,000 Hxro.
Now, how did your background as a professional poker player help your work with Hxro?
There's a high correlation to the skill set you develop as a poker player to trading crypto. You learn risk management, you learn expected value, decision making. You think quickly on your feet. You have a high tolerance for risk in general, and so those skills are what kind of brought me into crypto in the first place. The skills I learned in poker came over to the Hxro game by being able to understand like how people perceive situations and how as a game platform, like what PokerStars and Full Tilt and Ultimate Bet and daily fantasy sports sites like DraftKings, I played on all of them, so I understand like what the players like about these games and what they didn't like, and what these companies did right and what things that held them back.
Do you play the game?
I mean, I've played in the past as a player of poker and daily fantasy sports. I wanted to really get a feel for it and understand like the core game loops and how it feels as a player, the emotions that come from it. So yeah, I played.
Do you think it makes more sense to play round after round or hold back a few?
I mean, it really depends on your strategy, right? Like I think what a lot of people try to do when they start playing is they try to be right all the time, which we found out is like not, you can have a high win rate of 60% or 57% or something and still be ultimately like breaking even or losing a little bit because of the pari-mutuel nature of it. I mean, I think probabilistically. So all my decision making is generally like probabilistic terms. Like if there's a 20% chance it's going to be everyone's on one side, like I'm going to probably choose that side if it's only 20%. But if it's like 70%, if I think 70% of people are going to be on moon, like I'll always be on rect because there's a higher expected value with that decision to win the most amount of Hxros. Risk management and understanding the pool size and gauging the sentiment are probably the two biggest skills that you can have in playing this game, as opposed to just trying to be right in technical analysis. And that's what we found. People have said, like, there's been a number of people that have said, like, they've learned more playing about trading and playing Hxro in a month than they have trading on their own the last 3 years. Like, it ends up being a very valuable learning tool for people, educational.
That's a huge compliment.
Yeah, it was actually like one of the most interesting things and what got me the most excited after like 2 months of feedback in the beta. Like people are just like, this is a great learning tool. Like, yes. We're kind of owning that 5 minute space, right? Because prior to this game, like no one ever looked at the 5 minute candle. They thought it was noise. But there's people that have become like astute and like almost like a savant at reading the 5 minute chart, and it's given them a huge edge in actually trading too. Like because they can see these shorter time frame moves and understand what the possibilities, outcomes are, and make really good decisions based on these 5 minute charts that no one else is looking at.
I was watching another interview with you guys, actually with Dan Gunsberg, one of the other founders. So
Yep.
He was talking a lot about his background in trading. He said he was on the trading floor, maybe not on the trading floor for all of 20 years, but he has a really extensive finance background.
Yep.
And he described Hxro as a step toward trading without the implications of spot trading, without all the implications of putting however many thousands of dollars into the market and being on the line for all that money. Is that how you would describe it? How would you describe what you guys are trying to accomplish with the game?
Definitely pretty spot on assessment. So we try to make this as easy and simple as possible for the user to get in there and play while having fixed risk, so they understand like when they're entering contests what their entry size is, and they can't lose more than that per contest. But they have virtually uncapped upside because of the pari-mutuel nature of the game. If every single person is on one side and you're the only one with a smaller entry on the other side, you have virtually uncapped upside. So we've seen people win 400x payouts. There was an instance where somebody had 10 on, I think it was Rect, and there's 4,000 on Moon, and they just won it all. And we've seen 179x, we've seen 150x, 50x,
wow.
50x, like 12x's happen daily. Like we want it to be like a simple on-ramp for people to get into crypto and trading and feel comfortable and confident that they can only lose what they've entered. Whereas like something like BitMEX, you have no idea like the funding mechanisms. You're like, most people, when they get into it, don't understand how leverage works. They don't understand about the fees and paying for the contract. And they end up like liquidating their whole balance and have no idea how the fuck it happened. So we're trying to do the opposite and give people like clear, fixed risk, clear, simple, easy to understand, easy to use game to really get them started in crypto, or if they're already in crypto, have a fun, exciting experience. Our goal is to turn every gamer into a trader, because we think that we can really capture that audience and make them feel comfortable and confident entering the space by just the simplicity of our games. We definitely want to like capture like the mid to hardcore gamers, the people that want to like have fun and hang out while they're doing other things, while they're trading, while they're watching the charts, while they're watching football, whatever it is. And we think that there's a huge overlap between video gamers, like the poker players and daily fantasy sports players and cryptocurrency traders. So those three or those four groups are more or less our target market.
When are you looking at for the full live launch?
So we're looking at Q2. We're targeting mid-May is our target right now, tentatively. But we've been in private beta for 3 months now, and we've worked out a lot of bugs and a lot of issues that people have reported, which has been amazing. Like we've had great beta users that have been very spot on and reporting to us the issues and being patient with us while we fix them.
All right, why don't we switch over to questions? We're going to switch to questions from the Cryptocopia community. Squidbox is first up. Squidbox wants to know if Hxro is fully decentralized, and how does it work with the smart contract?
It is not fully decentralized. If we were to do this as a dApp on Ethereum, like because of the nature of like needing the pricing data so quickly, like and being able to enter the contests with 1 second left, if we had it on a dApp or a smart contract, like you would have to enter the contest probably 20-30 seconds in advance for it to actually register.
Okay, so why don't we move on? Foolish Professional wants to know, from what I've read about Hxro, you didn't raise all that much money. How are you able to afford to pay such a large team? Hard-hitting questions from Cryptocopia today.
Yeah, we did a small seed raise in May of 2018, which allowed us to build the platform and bring on talent and get to where we are. We've done a small raise, private sale through Paper Street. We're passionate about this game, about this company, and we're running bare bones, and we're able to make it work. I mean, it's just what it is, man. Like we think like we're gonna build this thing up and create value, and we're just confident in our ability to execute. We've kind of proven that over the last 10 months. Like we have high confidence, self-efficacy, and we think we can deliver, and we're not really that concerned with the details.
I mean, that's not abnormal for new companies anyway. We had Stratos on for an interview maybe 4 weeks ago, and we were talking about their initial raise of, I think, 5 million, but that was 3 years ago, and it was a 5 million raise compared to EOS's 4 billion and whoever else you want to talk about, from 2017 raising hundreds of, yeah, because they need that money for.
Yeah. Just have an infinite burn rate, or infinite runway for like their burn. How long can you really operate in $4 billion? Like you got 200 years? Like what?
Look, if there's ever a nuclear winter, then what's going to stick around is cockroaches and EOS. So So good for them.
Yes.
God, I love the names today. Waxed Thighs wants to know. Where would you recommend a newcomer to start if they're interested in getting involved in Hxro?
I'd recommend you getting some Hxro and emailing our support at support@hxro.io and skipping the waitlist and bring on platform, and then just kind of reading. There's articles out there by some of our like best players. Ledger Status put out a strategy article and did an interview with Coin Talk Show where he gives a pretty good fundamental strategy and kind of breaks down like what he does and why, and talks about risk management and exposure to the pools. Kevin Steele did a great one. So I think like, and then following Simon, he's been pretty open on his Twitter account. I think it's at Simon34, SIEMAN, I think is what it is. Like read as much as you can from those guys and kind of get an idea of what their strategy is and try to replicate it while keeping your exposure and risk management like at the forefront of your mind, like not trying to blow out your account and just being patient and just kind of using it as a learning tool to kind of build your stack. Like Simon, I think he had 200 Hxros what he started with, and he's up to 234,000 in 24 days, and he's like manually tracking all of his entries in a spreadsheet and charting it, and pretty good person to follow, I think, if you're trying to really get into the game and find a winning strategy.
So how often do you guys have these two versus two battles?
That was the first one. That was Rick Little, No Coin Rick's brainchild, and he reached out to those guys and made it happen, and it was so exciting to be a part of, man. I was watching the stream and just like laughing hysterically and like feeling the sweat. There was like a couple candles where I think it was moon the entire time until the last 20 seconds, and it flipped like 4 times, and there's like a 10-second confirmation period after the contest ends before it closes, and it flipped there twice during confirmation, and they were just like, "Oh my god, please!" no, go wrecked.
Would you ever think about letting users, just do their own lobby and have the same price feed, but battle each other, 2v2 with nobody else in the pot? Would that be fun, or would it suck? Because
we definitely thought about like a way to do heads up. Obviously, there's got to be like on Moonrec specifically, it's if both people are on the same side, it's a wash. Like there's no one wins. But like maybe like a series of like 5 or 10 contests that encompasses the heads up battle, and maybe you can make a 2v2. But it's definitely something that we've been thinking about and strategizing on how to make it work. Because there is a lot of like in crypto Twitter and Twitter in general, it's like a lot of testosterone, a lot of ego, and people want to like call someone out and be like, "You fucking suck!" Like, I bet I can outtrade you in whatever time frame. Like, put your money where your mouth is. So we want to give people the ability to like do that and play on our platform in that regard. So we're just trying to work out the mechanics and figure out how to do it. But it's definitely something that it's on a roadmap for sure. And yeah, the future games, like we're not sure exactly when it's going to happen, but probably relatively soon we're going to start rolling out new tokens and coins to allow people to play short-term price action on. But yeah, it's to be determined when that date is.
Okay. Well, that's the idea too behind my bags, right? So you pick like 4 or 5 tokens, like you build out a portfolio, and then based on how your portfolio does compared to everybody else's portfolio, that's what your payout might look like.
Yep. So my bags is the next game that we're gonna have in the pipeline. It's very similar to how daily fantasy sports works. If you're familiar with DraftKings or FanDuel and their contests, you get to draft a portfolio of crypto assets and weight them. It's synthetically weight them absolute value of 100, so you can go long or short and compete your bags of your portfolio against everyone else in that same contest, and your finishing place and your payout is directly related to how you finish versus your peers. I'll just use poker tournaments or daily fantasy sports tournaments as an example. So generally like 10% of the field gets paid out. If there's 1,000 people in a contest, the top 100 get paid out, and it's like a long-tailed payout structure. So if first place gets generally about 20% of the prize pool, second place gets 10, and then it trails off from there to where the bottom of the prize pool or the payout players get like roughly like 1.5 or to 2 times their money back. So that's kind of how we're going to replicate a portfolio game contest in my bags with a similar payout structure and a similar feel as those games. So we think that might be a good game to really capture those crossover audiences of poker and daily fantasy sports players, as well as like give people who are currently in love with Moonrect another game to fall in love with.
Word. And Danny, thank you so much for joining us. It's really been a pleasure.
Thanks for having me, man. It was definitely my pleasure.
You're welcome. Yeah, I'm excited to follow what you guys are up to over the year, and we will see you next week. Cryptocopia and Danny, we will see you next time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.